Hello and welcome back to Ramblings of a Mad Guy. It's me, Reese. I'm the Mad Guy. I've got a riddle for you. An atheist, a porn star, and a Christian walk into a bar. Which one makes the biggest fool of himself? Ding, ding, ding. If you guessed Destiny, you were exactly correct. As per usual. Take a look at this debate that Destiny had with famed Christian YouTuber Ruslan. This guy's a beast. I like him. It's not how I argue, but I like him. All right, a couple things off the rip. First thing you'll notice, this is Adam22's podcast. You know Adam22 of cuckolding fame. I'm surprised he didn't start melting when Ruslan walked through the door. Now, one thing you'll notice is the title of the video, Fundamentalist Christian Tries to Convince Destiny and Adam to Convert. But I guess Adam22 writes his own titles because that is exactly not what happens in the video. First of all, Ruslan, not a fundamentalist Christian. Also, arguably as big on YouTube as Destiny and Adam. Maybe not as big, but at least in his sphere, he's one of the biggest names in terms of like Christian YouTubers, somewhat apologetic in nature. This is Ruslan's official response to the title. Dag no jumper hit me with the fundamentalist Christian label. I'm about the fundamentals of faith. That's right. He's not a fundamentalist Christian. That's someone that young earth creationist. Usually fundamentalist Christians have they sort of lack a nuanced perspective of the Bible. And that is not what Ruslan is. So let's get into it. Let's see in what way this fundamentalist Christian tries to convince Destiny and Adam.
What would be your best argument for Destiny about how he should confront his atheism and switch it up?
The best.
How are we going to crack this off?
I watched the debate with you and a presuppositional guy that was pushing presuppositional apologetics. Very cringe. I don't adhere to that. I watched you debate.
What's the definition of that, presuppositional?
It's like any grounds of logical arguments you're making, you can't because you're standing on God's ability to give you logic and reason.
Okay.
And so it's like, it's kind of complicated. I probably butchered.
That's going to be tough in a debate space,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and so they were going in circles. Kind of, I don't know if you remember this, Destiny, it's a couple years ago. And so
Destiny is being very quiet because guess what? I watched that video. Destiny got wrecked. I appreciate that Ruslan goes for an evidentialist apologetics, as in he points to the evidence, the historical evidence, the scientific evidence for the existence of God. But the debate he's referencing refers to the transcendental argument, a presuppositional argument for the existence of God. And Destiny got destroyed. I'll clip in a couple parts here.
One more time, I'm going to ask you, what is your objective statement that falsifies the Christian God?
And again, I will answer the same way that I have presuppositions that are necessarily unjustified because epistemologically we cannot justify some presuppositions. And according to your definition of a Christian God, these presuppositions necessarily entail that he is not true.
Okay, so you falsify the Christian God from your foundational starting points, and are they the product of your imagination?
I'm not sure. I can't really say.
So you don't know where they come from?
That is exactly what I have just said to you.
Okay, good. So the Christian God does not exist because of you have ideas that you don't know that they're veridical.
Exactly.
Good. So the Christian God is falsified in virtue of I don't know?
Correct.
Okay, do you realize how absurd that is?
Can you justify your presuppositions to me?
Do you see? I hope somebody's recording this, okay?
For you to evaluate that statement and claim that it's the same as just simply saying, I don't know, is an incredibly harsh characterization of what I'm saying.
Okay, do you know what's possible, sir?
Using what we have agreed are reasonable ways to make deductions.
I'm not interested. I'm not asking what is we. I'm asking you. Do you know what's possible?
Like truly, I don't know what the question means. Like truly, no. The answer is no. The answer is always going to be no to a question like that. No.
Okay, so you don't know anything is possible.
Correct. From a very foundational level, correct.
Right. So then why are you here stipulating anything if you don't know anything is possible?
Destiny says himself, God isn't real because I don't know. And Destiny says he doesn't know anything to be possible. Once you've gotten to that point in a debate, you got wrecked. And Destiny is being not unsurprisingly quiet about this reference. Ruslan is being gracious by giving Destiny the benefit of the doubt. But let's see where Ruslan goes, and let's see how Destiny responds to his evidentialist argument for the existence of God.
Hold to pointing people to the resurrection. I think the resurrection is the best argument for the Christian faith. I think the resurrection is a historical event that split history in two. I think the secular historians would agree on a couple of points: that Jesus was crucified under Pilate, that the tomb was empty, that the women found the tomb empty, that they told the disciples, they were convinced, and the brother of Jesus, James, became a Christian.
You don't believe in Latter-day Saints, though, do you?
No. So I think the resurrection, the historical event of the resurrection, to me, I look at that through the lens, and I say, if the resurrection happened, then what Jesus said is reliable and true. And then I say, okay, let's look at church history. Again, I'm Armenian Apostolic, so I didn't grow up as that. So like, we could trace our lineage back to guys who were martyred for the faith. Some people may die for something they don't know is a lie. It's very crazy to like know this guy, quote unquote, faked it and be willing to die for a lie. I think that's a very dumb reason for anybody to know Jesus wasn't really who he claimed he was, but I'm going to allow myself to be martyred. It doesn't make any sense logically. So I think those things, Bart Ehrman, most New Testament scholars agree on those facets. The tomb was empty. The disciples were convinced that he rose to the point where they were all willing to be martyred. And then it sparked this international, multi-ethnic movement that is still around today.
Let's see if they have some sort of response to this evidential claim. The historicity of the resurrection, well attested, about as well attested as anything you're going to get in history. And a little bit more powerfully, to me, the testimony of the martyrs. Why would you die in the most horrific way possible for something you knew to be a lie? Remember, that's the claim, that the original disciples of Christ were lying, that they knew he didn't rise from the dead, that they hid his body or something like that. And then they, instead of just saying, oh, no, I was lying, they got burned at the stake or crucified upside down in terms of Peter. What is Destiny's logical, rational explanation for why someone would go to their death like that over something they knew to be a lie?
Destiny, thoughts?
I feel like I've inhaled a little bit too much of your fucking smoke. I feel like a lot of it's starting to
That'll
hit me.
help.
The Lord preserved the contact hive.
Destiny does look high as hell. I'll give him a little bit of slack. I'll give him a minute amount of slack for being high as hell, trying to respond to the historicity of Christ. I mean, that's not a position I'd want to be in, personally.
For me, so
That'll help you.
I didn't catch it.
What if we were in the year 50,000? Would you still feel the same?
Yes,
What if it was the year 500,000?
I would still feel the same.
Okay, I feel like it's been a long time since Jesus died.
Yeah, it's been a long time, 2,000 years.
I feel like people thought he was going to come back a little quicker.
His disciples definitely thought it was going to happen quicker. Yeah, that's fair.
What if the sun blows up
What if?
and he's still not here?
What if?
I feel like trying to base my whole life around a contested historical event 2,000 years ago is not the way to go.
Maybe if Destiny would clear the smoke out of his eyeballs, he would see that you never base historicity, you never base the accuracy of historical facts based on how long ago it is from you. Otherwise, is Destiny going to say that Alexander the Great probably didn't exist? That he probably didn't conquer the known world because that happened 2,000 years ago? That's just not how you do history. The way you do history is you base it off of the time between the actual primary sources describing the contested person and that person. And when it comes to the Gospels, and when it comes to especially Paul's letters, there is almost nothing which is as close as that to the resurrection of Jesus. It also doesn't address at all why the martyrs, why the original disciples and apostles would die horrible deaths for something they thought or knew to be a lie.
I mean, you got to define contested. Like, how do you contest it?
As in, there's not widespread agreement that there was a resurrection that took place. I'm not even sure if there's 100% agreement on the tomb being empty or not. But I mean, we can think of a lot of reasons why a tomb would be empty. It doesn't involve a guy coming back from the dead. But
So what would they do? What they do with the body?
damn, I don't know. They could have done a lot of things. So you'd have to ask the guys that hid it.
So they hid the body, and then all his blood brother all of a sudden starts believing is God. out of
Were
nowhere.
they doing DNA tests back then? I don't know.
That's an important point. Destiny completely misses the point. He focuses on the blood brother stupidity. Or did they have DNA tests back then? No, the point is, if these people who are genuine converts, as noted by secular history, like James, the brother of Jesus, but James or any of these people close to it knew that they had hid the body, taken the body out of the tomb and hid it somewhere, or constructed some other conspiracy, then why would they die for it? Why would they be burned alive? Why would they be crucified? All they would have to say is, no, you're right, it was a lie. No, we lied, it's not real. That's the point, Destiny. It doesn't matter if he's his blood brother or not. Who were these early converts and why did they believe this so voraciously?
What blood
I mean,
brother
James is the brother of Jesus. He was one of the early apostles. He's one of the early guys that was around. He was not a follower and a disciple during his lifetime. We can talk about Paul if you want to talk about Paul. Paul is a guy that was
all I'm saying is that, like, I
figure.
understand that, like, we have, like, these historical figures, but I'm just saying that, like,
I'm referencing secular history, by the way. I haven't
Sure.
even cited the
I'm
New
just
Testament.
saying it's been a long time.
Sure.
I don't see God doing much today. I know miracles were a lot more common before, like, the iPhone came out and people could start recording shit. And I wouldn't feel compelled that, like, I'm going to live my life an entire way because of an event that happened 2,000 years ago. It's
Yeah.
just a
Destiny goes, I don't see miracles today. He says, talking into a piece of rubber, attached to a piece of metal, attached to some more pieces of metal, attached to a computer, projecting his voice to millions and millions of people, recorded and saved in perpetuity on a cloud. And then the atheists are going to say, but that's not a miracle. That's science. But how do you think we do science? Where do you think the matter came from? Where do you think the energy came from? These are the fundamental questions. And then you just say, I don't see miracles today. Meanwhile, existence itself is a miracle. As Wes Huff put it on Joe Rogan, you don't believe in the virgin birth of a single human being, but you believe in the virgin birth of the entire universe?
long time. There's just nothing that's happened that's
Well,
very compelling.
have you heard of Dr. Craig Keener?
No?
He just did a whole book about modern miracles, like documenting modern miracles.
Can you give me?
Okay, so then they go back and forth. Again, that's why I like the transcendental argument, because when you get into evidentialist arguments, then the science type atheists like Destiny will just go, my science is better than your science. So Ruslan's going to bring up, miracle science, which is a real thing. Everyone should look up Dr. Keener's books. But Destiny's just going to say, my science is greater than your science. Okay, so they can always just say that when you're talking about evidential claims. Where it gets interesting again is when Ruslan asked Destiny to steel man the position for God.
Destiny, I got a question for you.
Ask
Could
away.
you steel man an argument for God, for the existence
Dude, yeah, I
of God?
was Catholic for fucking 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give me your best steel man argument for the existence of God.
There's the teleological, the cosmological. There's all sorts of different. Which one?
What's your favorite one?
Well, none of them, because I'm atheist.
But if you had to say, man, this is a good argument for the existence of God, what would it be?
What do you think?
This is what you're here for, man. I'm not ready for this shit.
It's a bullshit analogy, but it's very compelling. Have you ever heard of the clockmaker analogy?
If you find a clock in the middle of the
Yeah,
woods,
let's say I show you a stopwatch, okay, a pocket watch. It's a very finely tuned pocket watch, okay? I twist it, it works, keeps track of time, got a quartz mechanism inside. Let's say that I put this watch in a bag, okay? Tie the bag up and I get a hammer and I break the fuck out of it, okay? And I ask you, how many times can I shake this bag to get a fucking watch out of it? And a reasonable person will say, well, you're never going to shake the bag and get a watch out of it. And I go, okay, well, then how the fuck did the Big Bang produce everything that you see in front of you today? If you can't shake the bag and get even a watch out, how could you shake up the universe and get fucking humanity?
yeah, that's called a fine-tuning argument.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's
Yeah.
a horrible argument.
Why
But
is
it
it-
sounds compelling.
But I mean,
Okay, so Destiny, he's asked to steel man an argument. He lists like 5 valid, unfalsified arguments, just kind of flippantly, casually. And then when pressed, he goes into what he thinks is the strongest one. And surprise, surprise, it's actually really strong. He says it's bullshit, but it's a really good analogy. And actually, I've never heard Destiny explicate a point this clearly and concisely. And honestly, it might be the first smart thing he's ever said. But then, of course, he invalidates by going, but it's totally bullshit. It's totally bullshit anyway, so it doesn't count, even though nothing is inherently bullshit about what he said. Let's see why Destiny thinks the fine-tuning argument, as he put very well, is bullshit.
I mean, that Richard Dawkins would agree with you. Richard Dawkins recently in a debate with, well, it wasn't really a debate, but a conversation with Francis Collins said that he thinks the fine-tuning of the universe, which is what you just described, is a good argument for the existence of God. It could take him from being an atheist to a deist.
It's just a lot of logical traps. It's pitfalls because your brain's not equipped to think about these types of things.
Maybe your brain isn't. Go ahead, Destiny. Tell us the logical traps of the fine-tuning argument, please.
Here's like the most apt analogy.
Okay.
There's two huge issues. Is that one, the stopwatch, maybe it was always there.
So intelligently designed.
Okay, huge problem off the jump. He goes, the stopwatch, maybe it was just always there. What exactly do you mean by just always there? Are you still talking about the same analogy with the clock and the bag and smashing it up with a hammer? Because if you shook up a bag of springs and coils and metal and little bits of plastic and whatever makes up a watch or a clock, in what sense is the fully formed clock just always there? Okay, so he can't be referencing the same analogy because that makes no sense. He must be ditching the analogy that he already said was a powerful one and switching to a different model. So maybe he's saying the clock was never actually smashed up. The clock, fully formed, always existed. Remember, the clock in this analogy is the entire universe. So you can see where he gets this from. But it appears from science, which I think Destiny will appeal to, that the universe was at one time broken down into more fundamental parts, forces, simple atoms before there were planets, before there were galaxies, before there were stars. So does Destiny want to say the parts were always there? And maybe they were just all perfectly magnetized so that whenever you shake up the bag, they'll like come together perfectly to form the clock? You know, forget how the pieces even got there or why they're magnetized perfectly to form the clock. But if you can somehow forget those very important ontological points, then sure, maybe the laws and the fundamental nature of reality was always there and it could not have been any other way. That the clock was always going to be formed whenever you shake up the bag. Is that what you're talking about, Destiny?
Things like the human body, the human eye, DNA.
It doesn't have
can
to be
just
a design.
be there.
Doesn't have to be intelligence. It could just be a thing that appears because it's the only thing that could be there, right?
Is there anything like that in the universe that's just there? Like, can you point to anything that's just there?
I could say that, like, for instance, there are math analogies that escape me right now. But if you look at like a lightning strike, like when you look at a lightning strike, would you say that the lightning carved a very particular path out in the sky? Mm-hmm. Or would you say it followed like the next charge down and it took the only path that it could have taken, right? The issue is that creationists will look at a lightning strike and they'll say that's the only way the lightning could have been, therefore it must have been intelligently designed. But the reality is that the universe...
That's just not what they say at all. But anyway, okay, we'll just keep going.
Could look potentially a billion different ways. It happens to look the...
Wait, the universe could look potentially a billion different ways? So the universe could exist in a billion different ways? See, what Destiny did was he combined two different refutations for the fine-tuning argument and created a self-defeating point. You gotta love when that happens. Let me explain that to you. If there are a billion different possibilities for how the universe could look now or could have started or whatever, then the fine-tuning argument is valid. That's actually the whole point of the fine-tuning argument. The literal point of the argument is that the situation we find ourselves in right here, right now, our very existence, is a 1 in a billion chance. Actually, it's not just 1 in a billion. It's more like 1 in a billion, 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 billion. Right? So if there are billions and billions of other possible universes, then this universe is completely improbable. It doesn't make sense how it came about. That's why we invoke God to explain the absolute improbability of the design and the order in nature. That's why Dawkins even concedes that this is a strong argument. The only way, as an atheist, that you could say that it's possible for our universe to be instantiated without some sort of God is if there are infinite multiverses or infinite possible universes that can allow this improbability to, at some point, although remember, time doesn't exist before the Big Bang, so, I mean, how does that work? But anyway, at some point, if there are infinite universes, then maybe this one could be instantiated. But Destiny apparently thinks there's only a billion possibilities, or however many he thinks, a non-infinite number, so that's moot. And this is regardless of the fact that there are major problems with an infinite timeline or with infinite universes, namely the Hilbert Hotel paradox, which shows us that a real set of infinite things, keep with me here, a set of material real things cannot exist infinitely. The paradoxes are rife. It's impossible. It's at least less probable than there being one single, simple, infinite thing, God. And I'm not saying simple like not complex. I'm just saying not composed of parts. That is a much more reasonable explanation for how this improbable universe could come about than saying that there are infinite material universes. I'm saying there's one infinity. Destiny's saying there's like infinite infinities. And they're material. My thing is abstract. Destiny's thing is material. It makes no sense. Anyway, let's continue.
The way that it looks now, but who's to say that it couldn't have been different, right? It's like looking at a puddle of water on the ground and saying, what are the chances that that particular puddle fits that hole precisely? Notice how it fits every single curve. It's like, well, yeah, of course. It's a puddle of water. It could only ever be that way.
So humans are a puddle of water. Everything is random, and we're here by chance. And we're just kind of floating through space and time, made up of little stars.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to respond to the puddle of water thing. Like, Destiny's saying, okay, so maybe the universe is really like a big pothole, and then the way that the law, like the way that it is, the laws, I guess, are like rain coming down, and then the material universe that we observe is like this puddle in a pothole. And you go like, why is the puddle exactly the way it is? It's like, well, because the pothole is the size that it is. But this is just absurd. You're not answering, why is there rain? Why is there a pothole? Why is there anything to observe? Why do we have observability of the puddle? Keep in mind that we are in the puddle. We are little droplets of water in this proverbial puddle. So anyway, I don't want to give Destiny too hard of a time. I know he's high as balls, which is a funny choice. I guess he said he got a contact high, so I just imagine this like porn star just like hotboxing the studio and being like, oh, we got a Christian apologist coming in. Oh, we got an apologist coming in. Destiny, you want to talk about the fine-tuning argument? I mean, I'll give him some credit for that. This isn't even his like area. I guess he's more like a political commentator, Destiny. But your fundamental ideological beliefs trickle down into your political beliefs. So the fact that Destiny doesn't believe in God is going to allow him to make obscene and absurd political takes, which then millions of people are going to parrot and then vote and yada, 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 yada. So it's important to break down the fundamental ideology of Destiny and show you just how silly that position really is. Also, major props to Ruslan. I'll put your name in the title of this video, brother. I know Adam22 didn't give you the credit, but I'll get you in there. Maybe I'll leave Adam out. He didn't say shit. Adam22 didn't say a single word this whole time. Anyway, peace and love. Thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and hit the bell notification if you want to know when I'm streaming. And we do this live. We do live apologetics. So, you know, if you agree with Destiny or you think I'm an idiot or whatever, come in, call me an idiot, bring all your arguments, your best arguments. You're going to need them, and let me know. All right. Peace, everybody.